Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back. So here's my review for Fear the Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 14. This is a full spoiler review, so obviously be aware that this will contain spoilers for the episode. This episode was actually, it was pretty interesting. You know, they actually got to some stuff a lot quicker than I thought. And was that a good thing? I think so in the end, technically, because I just wanted to really just get through this. But was I happy with how everything played out? No, definitely not. I have a lot of complaints about this episode. So obviously, before we go any further, if you do want more Fear the Walking Dead content, then yeah, just make sure to be a subscriber. Now, I will say, you know, I mean, I don't know how people are responding to this episode in general. I haven't really been following anything online. But personally, for me, it really has kind of felt like this episode really, like, I know in TV shows or movies or just like in writing, you know, things like that in general, there are certain conveniences that will happen that like you kind of just have to ignore because that's just what the story is. And I totally get it. It's just that there's a lot in here, and it's not even that. Like, you can kind of see some of the writing decisions here, and you can see the choreography. You can see a lot of things in here that just they really were not handled well at all. So obviously this episode was really focused on Alicia entering the Strand's tower. And the one question I have after watching the episode is like, why couldn't Alicia, you know, have entered the tower sooner? Like, why couldn't we be getting what we got here, say in episode 8? Like, I'm trying to think of all the things that have happened over the last 14 episodes. At least half of the episodes were pretty pointless, I would say. Or it was something that you could have, or you didn't need to write. You didn't need to do that. And it just, you know, watching this episode, I was just like, I don't know. I was frustrated with so much stuff here. So obviously, you know, the big thing that happens in the beginning is that they do talk. Strand turns on the beacon. And then the whole thing here is basically we have to get up to the top to shut off the beacon. Like, I don't know. It's just, again, it's so stupid. Like, the whole thing is like Strand turns on the beacon, whatever. And then they have to get to the top after to turn off the beacon. And I get it. Maybe Alicia convinced Strand that they have to this and that. But this is also another complaint that I have. Like, they've been building up for a very long time now that Strand is the villain. Like, they've been building that up. And the thing is, I knew this was going to happen. I knew Strand was going to survive. I knew they were going to somehow back out of this. And it really was just going to make all of this completely pointless. And I will say, you know, like when we do see Strand and Alicia actually talking and, you know, having those scenes together, they're very powerful. You know, and you could actually see a lot of the chemistry between those two characters. It's really great stuff. And honestly, I kind of hate the fact that they did this all season. I think Strand maybe shouldn't have been the villain the entire time, because Strand and Alicia work so well together. You know, a lot of those emotional scenes, I actually felt that. And that was probably the best part of the episode, to be honest. It was a lot of that. It was a lot of, and again, I think that's the issue with Fear the Walking Dead is it's not the casting, it's not the actors or actresses. I think all of them do such a great job at what they're doing. It's just that I think they're given a really shitty script. Like, I really think that the script, the writing of all of this, at least for this season anyways, has just been really bad. And I think I've been really holding out for a moment where it was actually going to get really good. Like, Fear Season 6 really surprised me. It changed a lot. Like, Fear Season 6 actually got really, really great, to the point where I was like, damn, I'm a little more excited about this show than I am for The Walking Dead, which again, wasn't really a knock on The Walking Dead. It was just, that's how great Fear the Walking Dead was at that point. It was actually getting really good. And then Season 7, you know, I've always sort of given it the benefit of the doubt pretty much from the beginning, because I saw what they did in Season 6. There's no way they can screw up, you know, the season and the writing so bad after what they just did. Just do what you did in Season 7, basically, right? Or not Season 7, but Season 6, right? Like, just do what you did in Season 6 in Season 7. And they never did. Now, I will say, and we'll talk about more of the specifics of the episode right away, but, you know, where they actually end off, or at least the trailer for episode 15, that does look really interesting. I'll say that. It actually looks like they are going to go into a direction that can be more exciting, where I think Fear Season 8 actually could be really good. But, man, such a waste of a season, and they wasted so many characters, to be honest. So, going back to what I was saying before, you know, the whole Strand and Alicia showdown in the very beginning just really wasn't that well done. And there was a lot of choreography, I would say, throughout the whole episode that was just not planned well. You know, a lot of the action scenes and stuff like that. Like, you know, in the beginning, it was just so unbelievable that Alicia would just take out those guards like that. But honestly, like looking back at it, I think that was probably the most believable scene. So I might have to change that a little bit. But, you know, it was just that there. And then Alicia, she's outnumbered. Like she's outnumbered from Wes and the other soldiers. And she's able to take Strand into the elevator. And then just the timing of Alicia passing out for Strand to be able to take, or I guess unarm her, right? And it's not even that. It's just like later on in the episode too, you know, like Wes, he just easily convinced all of the soldiers for some reason to side against Strand. I don't understand that. Like, how did that happen that easily? That made no sense. And then, you know, Wes as a character in general, I think they ruined this character. He was such a great character. I really liked him. I gave him a lot of praise in season 6. He was honestly a fantastic character. I was so excited to see where he was going to go. I loved, you know, the complexity between him and his brother. You know, his brother was all crazy and he really believed in the whole thing that Teddy was saying. And, you know, I just really liked that. I thought that was, you know, a really smart thing to do with Wes as a character. And he just made him a little more, I don't know, he made him a little more interesting. He gave him some backstory a bit there. And I thought he could grow into a really great character here. And they basically just, you know, in the last couple of episodes, just completely scrapped that and just ruined his character entirely. Like I just found it so cringy when Wes, you know, had Strand at gunpoint and then the soldiers like turned their guns on Strand. That I hated that. That was so dumb. Like it was so like, I couldn't believe it. I really just couldn't believe it. And then, you know, later on in the penthouse, Strand goes up there to talk with Wes. And then Wes again is trying to convince him of like, you know, Alicia's whatever, blah, blah, blah. And somehow Strand is able to get away from Wes. How the hell is he able to get away? I know he runs away, but you should have soldiers with their guns out. Like, if you actually want to capture Strand or Alicia, like it seems like they wanted to the whole episode, why not in that moment when you had him there? Like, it's so crazy to me. Somehow he got away. And when we sort of get to that final showdown there, we had Strand and Alicia, you know, they were sitting up against that window, or I guess the wall with the window. And they, you know, they put two dressers in front of the door. And it was so awful. Like, you had Wes and his soldiers and stuff barging on that door. Literally one hit that they did pretty much opened the door because there are two dressers. Like, who the hell can't push a door, move those two dressers out of the way? That was nothing. That shouldn't have barricaded the door at all. You know, like that's going to barricade the door probably from walkers, sure. But from people like a couple of grown men pushing that door, that's why it opened up so easily. But the reason they did it was so that Strand and Alicia could have that emotional conversation where Strand says, I love you, Alicia, and this and that, which in the end didn't even matter anyways because they were fighting right away afterwards. And Strand kills Wes. And so, like, you know what I mean? It's just the whole thing. It was so poorly planned. I was like, the whole time I was like, what am I watching? What am I watching right now? This is a disaster. Like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, them waiting for that conversation just before they open the doors. So dumb. What I will say, and I will give them credit, is like this one scene was kind of cool. Like Wes's death was overall kind of cool. Like I was, you know, at first I was worried because it seemed like Alicia was almost trying to convince Wes, and it almost seemed like it was working. I was gonna rant even more. Like, really? Like Wes is actually gonna believe this now? But then Strand comes in and like stabs him with that sword, and like that was just such a cool moment because it was so quiet. I wasn't expecting it. And again, Alicia's reaction to it, I just thought was so stupid. Like, she shouldn't have been like, oh, I guess you're the same person you always have been. That's so dumb for Alicia to believe that Strand was anything different. Like, what, she changed her mind that easily? Like, she went into the tower thinking he was one way, and he was easily able to convince her of something until that moment. Like, all the characters, like, they're so gullible. Like, they're so gullible, they believe everything that anyone says. It's really stupid. Another thing that I really found frustrating, and it really is frustrating, is the whole Ophelia thing. I think the Ophelia storyline was, why did it happen? Honestly, why did this even happen? Like, why did they even come up with this storyline to make Daniel, like, I don't know. And not even that, like the whole scene where Daniel's shooting those soldiers while you know, they're trying to help Alicia, or Strand is trying to help Alicia out. I was just like, what the hell? Daniel's standing wide open. He's just like, he's not getting shot. And like these soldiers are, you know, I just think in general, again, I can go on and on and on and complain about so much here. I just think this is really, really lazy writing. Like I don't know. Honestly, I'm just very disappointed. I'm very disappointed. Like I said, I gave Fear the Walking Dead the benefit of the doubt all season. because I thought that season 6 was really great. And I was just thinking, like, you can't just, like, you can't change. Like, if you're somebody who wrote something that, a season like that was that good, how can you write something that was so bad immediately? Just do what you did before. Like, you should at least have something that's pretty average, right? Like, it shouldn't be that bad. But, like, I don't know. I'm starting to think that season 6 was just luck. Like, it was just sort of the story that they had, and just somehow everything worked out. I don't know. I had such high hopes for the ending of the tower storyline. I thought, well, you know what? Even if this is really boring, even if all of this is sort of going nowhere, maybe at least for when they end the tower storyline, it's actually going to be good, because maybe Strand will die, this and that. But no, none of that happened. And again, Strand, like I said earlier in the season, they actually redeemed him, or it seems like it anyways, and he's just going to be on our side now. I guess he's just not going to die, like, unless he dies in the next episode. But I really doubt it. I really doubt Strand's actually dying. And so, just the whole thing here, I just think, I don't know. I'm kind of happy that this tower storyline is going to end. At least it seems like it, based off the trailer for episode 15. And, we know that, like, very soon now we are going to be seeing Madison. I imagine in 15 we're probably going to see Madison at the end. And so, there's, the future is exciting. It's just that if you have writing like this for season 8, how great is it going to be? Like, how, you know what I mean? I'm just worried about this. Like, Madison's return, I'm very, very excited for. And I have a feeling that that's going to be really, really poorly done, which sucks, because, like, they actually had a really great season last season, and it would have been amazing to have Madison a part of that, to have, Kim Dickens a part of something really great like that, like great writing on this show. I mean, the first couple of seasons were really good, right? The first 3 were really good. It's just, oh man, again, there's a lot of stupid conveniences again, like the ending scene. There is a lot of conveniences there in terms of how that fire started. But again, stuff like that I can ignore. See, the little things like that I can ignore, because it's just like, well, that's just how the story's going to go, right? I could ignore those things. To me, it's more of when certain characters just like will switch sides or whatever. Like when West somehow convinced all the soldiers, and then just conveniently the soldiers are like, yes, I'm on Team West now. And then they turn their weapons on Strand, right? Like I don't know. The arguing at the end was really cool. I really liked that emotional outburst between Alicia and Strand. And again, I think that just shows the chemistry between the characters. And so if I can end on a positive note at all about this episode and sort of the future for Fear, I think that Alicia and Strand really had, at least in this episode, some really great chemistry, really great scenes, especially that ending scene there. But it just kind of feels like, because of the writing, it makes the characters not smart. It makes them way too emotional. And I think that's the thing. I think the writing is assuming, I think when they're writing it, it's making the characters, it's almost like they're writing it as if these characters are going to be so emotional and they're doing this and they're doing that, but they're not being real with the characters and how they would actually respond, like in real life. Like, I don't know. It just really felt like a lot of the actors and actresses, even, during the scenes, especially West, there was one scene there where it really felt like he was going all out in his performance, because he knew just, he had to somehow convince the audience that this was authentic, like with how West was feeling. And I don't know. Again, if I had to rate this episode anything, it'd probably be like a 3 out of 10, 3 to 4 out of 10. It was, I liked, and honestly, the 3 to 4 points I would give it is just for the Strand and Alicia stuff. Everything else I just thought was like, it was a jumbled mess. I really was not a fan of it. Maybe you guys feel differently, but for me, I just can't believe that this episode turned out the way it did. Honestly, I just can't believe it turned out the way it did. I'm frustrated with all of it, to be honest. I think a lot of it is just, it shouldn't have been this way. It could so easily have not have been this way. And is this really how Fear Season 8 is going to be? Like, is Fear Season 8 actually going to turn out like this? I hope not. And I think there's going to be a lot of things, going forward. If they get away from this nuclear, apocalypse that they're in, then I think that's going to improve things like dramatically. Because, Season 6, I think the thing that, was working for it was, it went with more natural colors, like The Walking Dead. This season, it's just been, again, that yellow, like, piss tone that everyone hates. Everyone hated that in earlier seasons for Fear the Walking Dead. And then they brought it back for this season. Like, it was a little more orange, I guess, orange-brown, but, like, still, some shots, it still had that tone to it. And I don't think people liked it. I just think people in general were pretty sick of it from, like, episode 2 and on. I think episode 1 was really great, but I also have one last thing here in my notes, and I'll just end it here, which is that, yeah, Daniel, for some reason, wasn't dying. And I'm assuming Daniel might die now, because he got shot in the chest, right? looked like he got shot in the heart, kind of. And he was able to walk around like that. He can walk that much. I know Daniel's tough, but like he's human, right? So is he going to die at some point? And then also, I guess one thing here was he also touched Charlie's hand, like when they were sitting there. And Charlie's dying from radiation poisoning, right? So I'm assuming Charlie's going to die. I don't think there's a way she can actually come back from this. But aren't you not supposed to touch people if they have like radiation exposure? At least that's what I learned from that Chernobyl like HBO series anyways, is that like if you had radiation exposure, you had to stay away. Like they had like things around you, and your loved ones couldn't touch you or anything like that because they're going to be exposed to it. And so Daniel, holding like Charlie's hand like that, I'm like, you're going to be exposed to this unless that's not how it works. Maybe I have it wrong, but I just thought that was a little weird. But yeah, let's see. I mean, we'll have to wait and see if Daniel dies or not. But again, overall, I was very disappointed with this episode. Very disappointed, as you can tell by my review. I hope that episode 15 and 16 change some things around, but I can't lie to you guys. Like, I can't lie and just try to look at the positive for this. I tried to do that for so long because I thought that at least when we got the tower showdown, it was going to be worth it, that a lot of this was going to be slower. And, it was like, yeah, this isn't the greatest. And I even said, like, I would rate all season like 5 or 6 out of 10. It just hasn't been that great. But I thought once we get to the tower showdown, that's going to be really great. And then we got it basically in this episode. And it was just, I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed. But anyways, post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.